Do you feel like you're just trying to make it through the day, the week, the month, or even maybe the year? And do you wish that you could just be more present in your everyday life and enjoy your life on a deeper level? If that's the case, I have 3 simple strategies that I want to share with you today in this episode that are from my own life. It's what I actually do on a regular basis to help myself stay present and stay at a place where I'm enjoying my life, because I feel like a lot of us get caught up in these cycles where there's so many distractions and there's so many obligations that we have that it's like we can't ever possibly get to all of these things. And these are just 3 simple things that I actually use. I'm not just saying these things, I'm not just telling you to do them. I'm sharing them because it's what works for me. So if that's what you need in your life, stay right here and I will get into them. Welcome to the Striving Satisfied lifestyle, where I help you reconnect and stay connected to yourself, your spouse, and your kids, even when you're constantly being pulled in 100 different directions. I'm your host, Kyle Cook. Before I dive into the episode today, I want to give you free access to my activity, The Connection Rhythm. It's a simple 1-page activity that will help you start to reconnect with yourself as an individual, your spouse as a couple, and your spouse and your kids as a family. So if you're looking for an easy way that's very simple to start reconnecting and creating a better life for yourself, your spouse, and your family, go to strivingsatisfied.com/start to download this activity now. It's completely free. There's no strings attached. But now let's get into the episode. Okay, so I wanted to make this episode for you because I'm a frantic person. I grew up with a lot of frantic people in my family where we're always losing our wallets, our keys, our sunglasses when they're on our head. And it just wasn't sitting right with me as an adult. It's like, this can't be how I live every single day. You make your coffee before work or something and you're rushing around, so you end up spilling something, and then it's like, why was I rushing around? I could have just taken my time, and then I wouldn't have spilled that, wouldn't have had to clean it up. And it drives me nuts when this happens to me. So I wanted to make this episode just to share these 3 simple things with you that I'm trying to implement into my own life. And they're very simple. I'm a dad. I know that you're a busy parent. I know that you don't have a lot of time. So this isn't like grab a gratitude journal and write down what you're thankful for and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't have time for that. I need practical things that actually make a difference. So that's what these 3 things are going to be. But I just wanted to start by saying that slowing down is the key to enjoying life and to being more present. So without further ado, I have my notes here. Number 1 is don't try to cram everything in. Focus on one thing at a time. And the reason for this is because I'm the type of person that if there's a 4-hour block of time, I will try to cram 6 things in there that take an hour and a half each. It never works out well for me. I always end up having to go to the store for something that I don't have, or something gets messed up. It's never works out. So focus on one thing and don't try to cram everything in all at once. This year was the first time that I really implemented this on something bigger than just my everyday tasks. So closing my pool. Right? Typically, I drain the pool, or I start draining the pool, and then I do my little frantic walk over to the shed to try to get that thing cleaned out before the pool is done draining. And then when I come back, the pool's either drained too much or it's not enough because the hose got clogged or the hose fell out. Something always goes wrong, right? Because I'm trying to cram everything into one day. So that's what I'm trying to focus on. But this year, I made a big change and I was like, okay, the one thing I'm doing today is closing the pool. That's it. So I went out, I drained the pool, got it to the perfect level because I was right there. I was present. I was enjoying my time outside. I didn't have a podcast in my ear trying to learn how to lose 10 pounds or better my relationship or how to eat healthier. It was like I was outside, present with my thoughts, with the pool, doing that one thing. When the pool was low enough, I took all the parts out, cleaned them, let them dry. And now this is kind of a side note, but I guess I'll tell you at the end. It's the end of the story of why it didn't work out perfectly, but Striving Satisfied is about practice, getting better, not being perfect. So it makes sense why it happened this way, but now I've learned from it, and I'm going to share what I learned with you in a moment. But I just think that we have such a multitasking culture right now that it's like, try to get as much done as possible. Be more productive. Here's 37 productivity hacks for your daily life. I'm like, there's not even 37 hours in a day. Like, how I don't need 37 productivity hacks. So that's the first problem. So we need to get away from this multitasking crap. It's like, we shouldn't be on our phones watching TV, trying to make dinner, and have a conversation with our spouse. It just doesn't work. When our attention is pulled in too many directions, you can't do anything with quality, right? You can't have a conversation with your spouse that's of any quality if you're on your phone looking up a recipe while making dinner and have the TV on in the background. It doesn't work like that. It may work for you, but I'm just speaking from my own experience. It doesn't work for me. And this hustle culture of trying to get more stuff done, it's like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from trying to get all this crap done as fast as possible. So focusing on one thing is one aspect of slowing down and being more present and being able to enjoy my life. So I really think that it will help you. And I have 3 questions that you can ask yourself going forward that will help you implement focusing on one thing. And this is where it's kind of funny that I learned this afterwards. I should have known it, but the first question that you should ask yourself is, what needs to be done? What is the one thing that needs to be done today that I'm going to focus on, or this weekend, this week, that I will focus on? The second question, and this is what I missed, is what needs to be done before that thing can be done? I didn't ask myself that question, so I never cleaned out the shed. And then the pool parts that I had cleaned sat in the yard for 2 days because the shed wasn't cleaned out. And it's like, I know that the shed needed to be cleaned out so that I could put the pool stuff away. But again, I was not slowing down enough to realize that. I didn't ask myself what needs to be done, what needs to be done before that. Okay, if I had done that, I would have been in a much better place. It would have been more completed because I would have cleaned the shed out that day and then waited to close the pool the next weekend or something. I would have figured it out. But if you really want to get good, is ask yourself what needs to be done after. This is the third question. What needs to be done after? Because when you ask yourself this, you're kind of admitting that it's like, this is the one thing that needs to be done. But there are things attached to both ends. It's like, this has to be done first before I can do that. And then after I do that, it's really not finished until I put this stuff away, right? So for the pool example, I close the pool. That's what needs to be done. Before I close the pool, the shed needs to be cleaned out. And after I close the pool, I need to put the hoses from the house, the regular garden hoses, I need to put those away, or I should put those away because I'm out there, I'm working in the yard, and I use that hose to fill up the pool in the spring. So that is something that needs to be done after the pool is closed. But those are 3 questions that you should ask yourself in terms of focusing on one thing at a time and not trying to cram everything in. That could be 3 days, right? Before, then the main thing, then the after thing. 3 days. And if you just dedicate 3 days closing the pool, your life would be a lot more enjoyable and you could be more present because you're not trying to cram it all in. But with that being said, don't try to make this perfect. Just try it with something simple. Try it with making dinner. What needs to be done before making dinner? Well, the counter needs to be wiped off and cleaned off so that I can actually prep all the food, and then I have to prep all the food. That's the before. Then making dinner, I have to have these 3 pots out and this pan, and I need to preheat the oven. That's how I make dinner. And then after dinner, it needs to be cleaned up. If you just focus on those 3 areas, before, during, and after, in everything you do, your life will be so much simpler. And that's what I'm working towards, is just simplifying and slowing down. So without further ado, I'll end it there with number one. Number two is more of a in the moment concept that will actually help drag you into the present moment, make you be more present. I don't know how long I've been doing this for, probably a couple of years, and I don't do it all the time, but when I do it, it actually probably makes the most difference out of all of these things. But it's say what you are doing. So let's say you take your family out, you're going apple picking. You go in, you buy the bag, and then you go out, you get on the hayride that brings you out to the orchard. When you get on that hayride, look at your son or your daughter or your spouse and be like, can you believe that we're going apple picking right now? Like, we're on a hayride and we get to go pick apples. And it's just the 3 of us, 4 of us, whatever, 5 of us. And when you say this, it not only makes the other person think about like, oh yeah, we are apple picking, but it drags you into the moment of like, right now, in this moment, I am with my family apple picking. We're on a hayride, right? We're having fun. And I can't think of a more simple thing that I do other than, focusing on one thing. But this is kind of the same concept. It's just making you focus on it. It's like, right now, can you believe we are doing this? And I think that a lot of us think that being present is like not being on our phone. But I don't know about you. I know myself and plenty of other people that even when they're not on their phones, they're not present. They're thinking about what they're going to have for dinner. They're thinking about what they have to do next weekend, what they did last weekend that was really fun, or they're worried about something they said to somebody at work because they don't want them to take it the wrong way. It's like, just because we're not on our phone doesn't mean that we're present, right? So this is one thing that's an in the moment concept that will help drag you right into the present moment. And it's so simple. You don't have to plan for this. You don't have to think, what am I going to focus on? It's just like, say what you are doing. And the action step for this to implement this in your life is simple. Whenever you're experiencing something, even if it's by yourself, right? I'll go to lunch by myself sometimes. I love going out to eat by myself. But I'll think to myself, like, I'm out to eat by myself right now. This is pretty awesome, right? And it brings me into the present moment and helps me enjoy it, because it's like 2 hours from now, I'm going to be at home handling everything that I have to. 2 hours before this, I was working, and right now I'm out to lunch by myself. Not like out to lunch, but like I'm going out to eat and having a drink, sitting by myself, enjoying my time, doing what I want for an hour, right? So it even works with just doing things by yourself. But when you go out with your spouse, I do it to my wife all the time, and it probably drives her nuts. We'll get in the car and I'll be like, can you believe that I'll be driving and be like, can you believe that we're going out to eat right now? Like, we get to go out, just the 2 of us. And she's like, yeah, like, great. And then when we get to the restaurant, I say the same thing. I'm like, can you believe like we're at our favorite place, or can you believe we're at this new place and it's just the 2 of us hanging out? And it just drags you into the present moment. So that's all I'll say about that. But the third thing is kind of a cap to all of this. So it's like, let's say you had a day where you didn't try to cram everything in. You focused on one thing, and let's say you were closing your pool, because I have experience with that, right? I'm a pool closing expert apparently at this point. But let's say you were closing your pool and you were like, this is the one thing I'm going to focus on. While I was doing it, I was saying, I can't believe I'm getting the pool closed. Like, this was a big all-day project. It takes forever. It's a pain in the butt, but I'm getting it done. I'm getting the pool closed. So I'm doing number 2, saying what I'm doing to drag myself into the present moment. And number 3 is to visualize the day that you had. And it's a cap to the other 2. And I've recently started doing this, probably 2 weeks at this point, but normally I go to bed listening to a podcast. And when I'm thinking, or I'm not really thinking, when I'm going to bed listening to a podcast, all I'm thinking about is what I'm listening to. I don't think about my problems the next day. I don't think about the problems I had that day, or the good things that happened that day, or the good things that are happening the next day. I'm just listening to a podcast. So I started recently visualizing the day that I had experienced that same day. So I say goodnight to my wife, I lay my head down, and I close my eyes, and I start from the moment I woke up with my eyes closed. I just visualize. I'm like, okay, I woke up at this time. I looked at the clock. It said it was 5:31, and then I brushed my teeth, did all this, and then it gets into, once you do it long enough, once you visualize for your day, you start to get into breakfast with your family, wherever you went that day with your family, what you did with your family, the funny little things that happened with your son or your daughter that day, the flat tire you got that day. All of these things you just run through from start to finish until you get to where let's put it this way, I've never made it through my full day. I'm always asleep by the time I get probably halfway through my day. But the point of it is, when you do that, you're truly going back to those present moments. You're not in the present moment, but you're visualizing back what you experienced that day. And that's where the times I've done it, I really didn't remember all the bad things. Like if I had something that messed up that day, those weren't the things that I visualized. It was like all the little good clips from the day. And it just made me realize that I was missing out on such an important aspect of being present and enjoying life. So that's number 3. It's really that simple. Just when you go to bed, try it one night. One night, make it a night that you had a really good day with your family or by yourself, with your spouse, whatever. But visualize it from the beginning to the end of the day. And if you do that just once, you'll see that it does make a huge difference in your life, and you'll see that there's a lot more good throughout your day than you really think, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You'll realize that there's a lot more good in your day than you realize when you visualize your day at the end of it. Before I go, I just want to remind you to go download my Connection Rhythm activity. It's completely free, and it will help you so much to start reconnecting with yourself, your spouse, and your kids. Just go to strivingsatisfied.com/start. And just remember, our lives are a result of what we do on a daily basis. So let's enjoy where we're at today while doing what's necessary to make our lives even better in the future.